Welcome into WagerTalk's last call, college football week 2. As you guys can tell, I'm not in my traditional office, but you guys are going to bear with me through any technical difficulties because I am here for you. You know who else is going to be here for you? Gianni the Greek. He is going to give you guys all of that steam. We're going to talk some UFC as well. So if you guys have a question regarding today's college football slate, drop it in the chat. UFC, drop it in the chat. Art DiCesare from the Westgate Superbook, unfortunately, is not going to be joining us. They're pretty busy there, if you guys can imagine, at the Westgate Superbook, but he did send me his list, so we're going to go over that as well. And then Sean Alvarez from WagerTalk.com is going to be batting cleanup for me. He's going to take all of your college football questions. We're going to hit all of the top games. And of course, I've got some questions for him because he and I agree on a few games on his list. Let's get right into it. We're going to bring in Gianni the Greek. I call him VR. You guys can catch him every single Wednesday with me on Bet On It. If you guys missed it, there is a college football edition of Bet On It. There is an NFL edition of Bet On It. And we have a mega show. Sorry, Sean. Dan is not here on Saturdays. We got Louie from the Kelly and Murray show running the behind the scenes. VR, welcome in. Happy Saturday.
Busy morning, Kel. Like all college football. I knew it coming in the Saturday morning. We were going to get the extra game stuff, some of the derivatives, first quarter, first half bets coming in, and a lot of college football. Got some UFC, even some Major League Baseball, and of course, NFL kicking off tomorrow. So it's a busy 24 hours. Nothing better for sports bettors.
Absolutely. I'm going to give you guys Art's list first that he texted me this morning.
Please.
That way we can kind of compare it to VR. Make sure you guys have your Odds Logic screen open, oddslogic.com/Kelly in Vegas. That is going to give you a 7-day free trial. If you guys aren't professional bettors, don't feel like you need a real-time odds screen, we also still have the free odds screen up, wt.buzz/odds there on wagertalk.com. Just know that it does have a slight delay. VR, while I'm pulling up Art's text message, I had a little panic this morning. I had my Odds Logic screen open and it was going berserk. And I thought, why the hell is UConn going up to 7 in some spots? I asked Louie, our producer, I said, oh my God, is somebody hurt for UConn? What happened in the last couple of hours? It was 5.5 this morning. So while I read off the list from Art, I want you to kind of look into that for me and see what the heck is going on. Art DiCesare said they are going to need Clemson to cover. They're going to need South Florida to cover. They're going to need Rice to cover. And they're going to need Michigan to cover. But interesting enough, the public is all over Michigan. They're also all over Syracuse, Michigan State, and Illinois. They took 4 sharp bets. NC State -3, Colorado -23.5, Ohio +3.5 against John Murray's West Virginia Mountaineers is a very interesting one. And then Hawaii -6.5. VR, did you find anything out for me on the UConn game? Was that just all steam?
Yeah, and a comeback. It was a comeback on the side because remember, it opened 8.5, 9. So when it went down through that key number of 7, and then you saw the -6.5 bettors come in on the UConn side. Exactly like you touched on with Art saying Hawaii, because we actually bet Sam Houston at +10. And then I saw another group bet it at +8.5 because they moved from 10 straight to 8.5. I saw another group bet it at 8.5. When it got down to 6.5, the same group that took the +10 laid the 6.5 with Hawaii for even a little bit more money. So they have Hawaii -6.5 and Sam Houston +10 in that game. So once it moves that significantly, I'm not surprised to see a little two-way action. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing in Hawaii, in Connecticut as well.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not necessarily great for me, but I did just retweet the show. So shout out to almost 1,000 of you guys watching live. We've only been on here for about 4 minutes. That is awesome that you guys are here, especially those on the West Coast like VR and Sean, bright and early out there. I know VR has been up since 5 a.m., so that's a completely different thing. The comment section is going fast. Make sure you guys give us those likes. We are 38 subscribers away on YouTube from 216,000. Yes. So please make sure you are subscribed as well. VR, we're going to get back into more college football here. Iowa State, we've got some questions in the comment. They want to know who's going to win the game. And then there was another question in regards to the total.
Iowa, again, perfect, because I gave out a 4% to subscribers. My subscribers won't care today because I gave them a glimpse for this week of what it looks like in my life. I gave them everything I'm moving, not in the package, but for the subscribers. So they're seeing the volume. And Iowa State was one of those games we did bet over. We went over 42.5. I gave it as a 4% for subscribers. So that's 1% of bankroll. We didn't bet the side, but I know there was something on the side. So let me look real fast.
Yeah, we saw it go from 3 into 3.5 this morning, VR. I have Iowa +3 in pocket. I thought about sprinkling a little bit on that money line. As you know, Kirk Ferentz has covered 6 and won 6 straight there in Ames. It seems like the visitor does well in that rivalry, but 3.5 kind of made my stomach turn. Like I mentioned, I opened that odds logic screen. I thought, what the hell happened in the last hour that I started getting ready for the show?
Just reading the market, that worries me a little bit on the dog. Only because looking in the back end right now, I'm seeing the recreational accounts, and there's a lot more money on the dog. When I see that come off that key number of 3, going to 3.5, and like they were willing to take +3. Now they're giving them 3.5. That always worries me. Again, I don't have a position on that game, but just reading the market, gun to head, Iowa State -3 would be my side. I'm cheering you in from the sidelines because I don't have a dog in that fight, but I have the over. So I want to see some points, and I hope Iowa gets there for you. At +3.5 is a good number. Listen, it was 3 all week. You got 3.5 at least. So you got a good number there. And I'm still seeing at my sharper shops, there's still 3. Like Penny's got 3 still. So
okay, very good point. And that's something you guys can do on the odds logic screen. I was actually explaining to our producer Louie, who just got an odds logic account the other day. I said, hey, look, you can hit that gear button in the upper left-hand corner and you can turn on and off the books that you use. The other day, this book named Paradise Wager came up and I'm like, what the hell is this? Turns out I let Brett use my odds logic account and he screwed up all of my books. So I had to go back and reorganize because obviously the shops that he bets at are going to be different than the ones that I bet at. And so
I got to say this. I got to interrupt. Paradise Wager is one of the sharpest books to use right now.
Really?
Yeah. Like they'll if the market's off, I would trust Paradise. I know who's behind that. Very, 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 very sharp people are behind that book.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to pay attention to their line moves. I keep them up and have an account with it just for that purpose. It's kind of like my my private little sharp book. A lot of bettors don't know just how sharp they are, but I kind of use them like the Pinnacle Fade, the Pinnacle Shade. I mean,
there you go. That's a good way to look at it. There's a couple other books that I use. Bet War is one that Gianni Detroit told me was also very sharp. So it's on there. So Paradise Wager is now on my odds logic screen. All right, let's kind of get into just got here. Is Kelly bashing the SEC yet? Not yet. You just wait and see. We will get to that here in a minute. Is Kelly on tilt from the K-State game? Mac Hudson wants to know just a tiny bit. Look, here's the reality. There's some funny memes going around this morning about the K-State football team. And I had a good laugh. I sent one to our athletic director. He laughed. I think we're going to be okay. Let's see. Marco gave out, if you guys misbet on it, K-State as his best bet on the college football show. And my jaw hit the floor. I had to literally, you could pick my jaw off the floor. He said, Kelly, K-State was in a quintessential letdown spot last week. They come home from Ireland, tail between their legs. You should have known that they were going to come out flat. He goes, I expect a big bounce back this week. So hopefully that is the case. VR, let's get into some of these other games that you like, and then we will touch on some UFC because you have some UFC kicking off. Starting here in about an hour there on the West Coast.
All right, here's some of the college football, the stuff that came in this morning. I always like that late Saturday college morning because you get stuff like this. You get stuff like Ball State versus Auburn, team total over 6.5 plus 110. So that's Ball State over 6.5, team total plus 110. Also, Kennesaw State 337 plus 21.5 in the first half. Another first half bet. Houston Rice total over 19.5. So that's Houston Rice over 19.5. And then one that just came in right before I got on board was Texas A&M 340, Texas A&M -7 first quarter, all the way up to -130 to get -7 in the first quarter. And a final first quarter bet, SMU 334, SMU first quarter -130 money line. 2 first halves that came in also. Florida International plus 26 and Kent plus 30. So we got Florida International plus 26, Kent plus 30. Both of those first half bets. And some of the other sides, I'll give you Texas A&M. We bet them for the full game at -30.5. And again, bet them today, like I said, in the first quarter at -7. Oregon State, we laid the 2.5 after fading them last week. I told you about Sam Houston and Hawaii. You know, my New Mexico State live dog, barking dog from Bet on it. Few other things. First quarter under 12.5. Virginia, NC State under. What else do I have for you? There's just so much. Like, there's so much stuff. I could just keep going. Oh, some of the bigger favorites: Colorado -23.5, Cincinnati -21.5, and Troy, the big dogs, Troy +31.5, and Oklahoma State +28.5. So Troy +31.5, Oklahoma State +28.5. Those are two of the bigger dogs that they took. Now, the one-sided bets that I'm seeing from the public, the most heavily one-sided, Texas. None bigger than Texas. They are laying the 36s, 37s, whatever they could get, they're laying Texas. They're Illinois -3. Also, sharp money on Illinois on the money line, but the public's betting them at -3. Oregon getting one-sided action there. Penn State getting one-sided action there. Clemson, one-sided action. So those big favorites are getting a lot of the money. Indiana, Texas, Texas A&M, Oregon, Penn State, Clemson, like those -30s are all getting one-sided public money. The one dog that sticks out that they're liking is Michigan. Michigan, getting a lot of Michigan money line bets. So that one sticks out. And as far as totals go, biggest totals bet money-wise so far under Michigan, Oklahoma. They just keep betting that one under. And then Oklahoma State and Oregon, they keep betting that one over, no surprise. So the biggest one-sided under is Michigan, Oklahoma. Biggest one-sided overs, Oklahoma State and Oregon. So that's some of the college football action for today. A lot of stuff.
That is the steam. That kind of gives you a look behind the counter there in the steam room with Ace. You guys, he's going to be on tomorrow, right after last call. So those of you asking where Ariel is in the chat, she will be here for every single NFL Sunday, except for next week, where I'm going to be filling in for her 2 weeks from now. I'm going to be filling in for her on the 21st so that she can go visit her little brother. But right here, bet the steam room with Ace. Right there we go. You guys can see him Sunday at noon. VR, kind of let people know what they can get from you here in the steam room every single Sunday, right?
Yep.
Subscribers only. If you are at least 30-day subscriber, correct?
Yep. And you're going to want to join us this Sunday to see exactly what we're going to be doing each and every week in the NFL. So if you're jump on board for a month or longer. We're doing really well right now. Again, you can see the numbers. They don't lie. We're crushing it over the last week. We're crushing it in college football, #1 right now. We started 2-0 in the NFL. I'm getting such good information. I'm so confident about the next couple months. And in the steam room, what we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to go 2 hours leading up to the kickoff of the 1 p.m. Eastern games. Leading into those 2 hours, I'm going to go through every single NFL game, give you any bets that we're on side in total, let you know opinion if I don't have a premium play on it, let you know what I see as far as the back end and the market, let you all know the player props for each of the games as they're coming in. We're going to be betting live. And more importantly, 15 minutes before kickoff, we will put together those special teasers that we fired last year and did really well with. Again, can't release those to subscribers because some weeks there's just so many of them. But if you're in that steam room, we're going to get a ton of information. I'm there for 2 hours answering your questions and, more importantly, accountable for the picks I release. I have a lot of volume Saturday, so we're gonna settle a lot today and see how we're doing tomorrow.
That's great. He's also going to go over some of those teasers live on Last Call with Ariel. Yep. And of course, Monday before the doubleheader kicks off, Joe Madden's going to be here on WagerTalk Last Call. We're trying to make this much more of a up to kickoff type show. And that's what we're doing here on Saturday morning. We're going to take you guys up to kickoff. Steve Merrill just texted me. So we're going to bring in Sean Alvarez here in a few after we touch on some MLB and UFC for you guys. I know this is a college football show, but you're asking for it in the comments. Yep. Just do me a favor and hit that like button. And of course, don't forget to subscribe so that we can hit that 216,000 subscriber mark today. VR, kind of let us get a look behind the counter there. UFC Paris, correct?
Yep. UFC Paris actually going off in 45 minutes. Something the main event right away. A lot of sharp money on Kyle Bahayo. That market opened it up like a pick 'em -110 either way. Since then, the sharps have lined up on the Bahayo side. I lean that way, but I'm afraid because it's in France. And what I like is the over. Anything minus 200 or better, this fight definitely goes to the scorecards 2 out of 3 times. Neither has the striking to finish the other one on the feet. And then they're both so good on the mat defensively. I don't think one can finish the other. 2 durable guys go over 4.5. Again, good to minus 200. Also, a lot of bettors are on Gustafsson now. He's now the favorite. A good way to bet that one is by decision. I got plus 230 on Gustafsson to win that fight by decision. I got Patterson at plus 230 to win by decision as well. And then in the ladies, Sam Hughes also to win by decision at minus 120. So there's 3 props for you. Gustafsson plus 230 to win by decision. Patterson plus 230 to win by decision. Hughes minus 120 to win by decision. And then the over 4.5 in the main event. There's 4 UFC bets for you right there with some dogs. We split, we make some money.
All right, you love it. The guys in the questions are all asking for MLB, so I'm going to concede. Yes, this is a football show, but I'll let you rattle off some MLB for the MLB dorks today.
Yeah, we've been doing good with the MLB. Can't overlook that market. Again, money don't care where it comes from as long as it keeps coming. Now, the series bets we put in yesterday before first pitch, 5 series bets. Cincinnati plus 120, Milwaukee minus 140, Baltimore plus 180, Houston plus 110, San Francisco plus 130. Milwaukee, Baltimore, San Francisco, all won game 1. So they have to win one of the next 2 games for us to cash those tickets. Cincinnati and Houston lost game 1. So both of those teams have to win today and tomorrow for us to cash those tickets. Just keep that in mind. Today, some of the moves, I got 5 signs for you. 955, Pittsburgh plus 135, 969, Minnesota minus 115, 973 Athletics plus 120, 977 Seattle plus 120, and 980 Arizona plus 110. So we had college football, UFC, Major League Baseball. You got to make something. When the dust settles, let's just hope we all turn a profit, whether you follow or fade. I just hope we all make a little bit of money today so we can go into Sunday's NFL ready to do some more damage than the week.
That is the plan. I need some of the dogs to be barking today. VR, good luck on your underdog, New Mexico State. I joined you on them as well. Again, guys, if you missed the college football edition of Bet On, it is up right now on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. The NFL show, Marco's got a deli segment. Ralph's got a TNA segment. We put the whole thing together in one big mega show. VR, I will tune in tomorrow to see you with Ariel Epstein. Same time, same place right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Again, guys, at Greek_Gambler. If you guys are looking to follow VR, he puts out a ton of great content. We're going to move right along, move me into this spot. I don't know why I'm trying to play producer here because I ain't any good at it. So I'm going to let Louie do it on the back end. See, this is why I need him on Saturday mornings because I'm trying too hard. I'm reading the comment section. And yes, Thomas, we do need a rebound on the dog parlay. My dog parlay, Michael, is Kentucky, UConn, and Kansas. So let's see. We had some good numbers on a couple of those and a couple moved the other way. We'll keep our fingers crossed that the dogs are barking. You missed Dan. Don't worry. Dan is here every single day. Louis is not chopped liver. He's doing a great job there in the background. Sean Alvarez is laughing off screen. So let's bring him in to the show. Hey, Sean. Good morning. Happy Saturday. Early out there on the West Coast. I'm sure you're having a great time here behind the scenes.
No, always good to laugh with you and Gianni. And, I take a little offense. I was up at 5 a.m. as well with Gianni. So gotta get up and gotta get up early on the West Coast.
See, and that's what everybody argues. If you are a night owl, I'm going to say this right now. That's why I love the East Coast. I love this. I don't mind staying up late to watch football. I went to bed last couple nights at 1 a.m. and I slept until 8 a.m. You can't do that on the West Coast. I used to have to be at the sports book at 5 a.m. some mornings, and it was awful. If you're not a morning person like Sean and VR, the East Coast is where it's at. I'm telling you.
Yeah, and I'm the exact opposite. Like you said, I'm more of a morning person. I want to go to bed. If I'm going to bed past 10 p.m., it's a late night. Nothing good happens in Vegas past 10 p.m.
All right, I'm going to put this on the screen because this happened to me last night. Mac Hudson said Florida first half, USF quarterback is suspended for the first half. I'm sitting there playing it's a little card game at the bar that my dad goes to. It's called Show Me the Money. So I'm over there. I'm like, I need a 6 of hearts. and then I'm going to win. And of course, I got the 6 of hearts, and so did he at the same time. We had to split a $42 pot. Not exactly my favorite thing, but I got this text. Joey Cheese sent it to me, and I said, son of a bitch, but good thing I got Florida minus 17. It was my best bet on it. You guys are welcome. And immediately the comment section is like, you got duped. So unfortunately, Mac Hudson, that is not real information. That is fake news. And it was not very much fun for me. But Sean, let's talk about that game. I think this is an interesting one because Art DiCesare sent me the list. Let me reread the list just in case you missed it. And also our audience members that are joining late, because I do think some of this information can be pertinent. He said they were going to need Clemson to cover, South Florida to cover, Rice to cover, and Michigan to cover, yet Michigan is also public, along with Syracuse, Michigan State, and Illinois. And I thought, I feel like USF is the dog with fleas. Last Thursday night, we all sat there, opening week of college football. Yeah, I know there's week 0, but you get the idea. Everybody is glued to the TV. And what do we watch? We watch USF throttle Boise State, the team that everybody thought was going to get into the college football playoff, almost automatic, get that bid. I think USF is getting a little too much love here. I know Florida played LIU last weekend, and they rested most of their players in the second half. They have fresh legs, and this is a USF team. I was telling Sammy P yesterday on Bet Sweats, I went and watched in 2022 with my dad, and USF kept it within a touchdown up until late. I mean, Florida Gators fans were losing their mind. That was Billy Napier's first season. I think he's going to want to make a big impression here.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm on the same page with you. I did get a little bit excited when I saw your you quote tweet the Byron Brown missing the first half. I was a little bit excited about that. I did do a little bit of side research. I wasn't playing cards with my dad, so had a little bit of time there. And unfortunately, it proved to be a false narrative. But looking at that USF game against Boise State, I thought they got a little bit lucky with the way Boise State played, especially in the red zone, kind of getting but kind of giving away turnovers. It wasn't necessarily that USF, the Bulls, were forcing turnovers. I thought Boise State played a sloppy game. It proved to be that Genty was obviously a big miss. The running backs really didn't carry the torch that he had last year. So I'm not as impressed with that win against Boise State. And I really think that this Florida defense is going to cause fits for that Bulls offense. So I'm on the same page with you. I think the Bulls are getting a little bit too much love here, and I would be laying the points. And I do like actually laying the points early. Florida, get out ahead early. Let's, USF might come
like
in a little bit.
First half minus 10 kind of thing.
Yeah, first half minus 10, let them get out early. I think USF may be, punched in the mouth a little bit by the talent that the Florida Gators have on their roster. So don't let them get any, late garbage points, touchdowns late in the game. We've all seen that. We see that in NFL with, the witching hour. So don't get those late garbage points headed your way and maybe cash the minus 10 first half.
All right, here's a game that I am on. One dog, Thomas Lynch says I like it, is Kansas plus 6 over Mizzou. I got the 6.5 in pocket. And then I was on my computer, Sean, this morning, and I was watching a show. And I normally don't, but I was like getting ready. It was on in the background. And I look over and it says Kansas, Kansas, Kansas. And I was like, shit, is this the dog with fleas? I know I shouldn't overreact and I shouldn't overthink, because I bet this early. Like, I bet this Tuesday, and I gave it out as my barking dog on Bet on It. Talk to me about Kansas, Mizzou. I know that you have an opinion on one of the sides.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice when somebody like Kelly bets on Kansas. It's, giving us a little bit of a window into, unbiased picks, obviously, with the Kansas State fandom. But I'm kind of on the same page with you with this. I really like this Kansas offense led by Jalen Daniels, who had a really good first week against Fresno State, going 18 for 20. A small amount of yards with 176, but still had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I believe it was 2 pass deflections, which I always like, keeping it out of the defensive hands kind of thing. And he's also good with his legs. He's a dual threat type of runner. And then on top of that, we've all seen it, whether it be the NFL or college, when you have one wide receiver that the quarterback falls in love with. They tend to stare him down. The defense can kind of lock onto that, watch the quarterback's eyes. And we saw Jalen Daniels move the ball around over the first 2 weeks, with Cam Pickett catching 6 passes for 77 yards and 2 touchdowns against Fresno State. But then Emmanuel Henderson caught 6 passes for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns against Wagner. So he's obviously not staring down defenders. But the one thing that kind of gets me a little bit scared about the side is the Missouri offense and the quarterback over there, Bo Perbola. Probably butchered that name, but he's also a little bit of a dual threat type of quarterback that can, make or hurt defenses if they get kind of locked into man-to-man, have their back turned around to the quarterback. So I'm actually going to stay away from the side. I really like the Kansas team total over 21.5. I think that's a little bit low. I really like the quarterback at Kansas, Jalen Daniels. And I think even if we get late in the game with Missouri up by 2 scores, we're going to see Jalen Daniels kind of slinging the ball around. And I think, talked about it in previous games or in the previous matchup, but we can get a garbage type touchdown to get us over this 21.5. So I'm going to stay away from the side. I do like the barking dog. If I was going to play a side, it would be Kansas here, but I'm going to lay on the team total over 21.5 with Kansas.
All right, Sean, really quickly, I know that you've been on WagerTalk a long time. You've really been our pony guy, if you will. I know you've done a lot of stuff with me and Marco in regards to the Breeders' Cup and, of course, Kentucky Derby, Belmont, Preakness, and stuff. But I think we need to introduce you to our audience a little bit more as a college football handicapper. You were just on the Blitz this last week there with Brian Power. Can you let everybody know what special you have up at WagerTalk.com right now?
Yeah, so you can get my entire college football all the way through the bowl game and weeks for $499, no coupon needed, and you're going to get all of my horse racing selections. What I do with WagerTalk with my horse racing is I give you full card selections. I give you wagers along the lines of exactas, pick threes, pick fives, and win plays, more of the suggested wagers. There's so much in horse racing as far as the board goes on what you can bet. Exactas, trifectas, try and scoop the pool with the pick six. So I give you my opinions on every race within the cards, kind of let your opinions matter a little bit as well. Keep my suggested wagers a little bit lower so you can add your opinions into the wagers. And if you just take my top pick selections, I've got an 18% top selection winners dating back to February 28th. I know that sounds low in the sports betting world, but that's a 13% ROI. So making money on those when you're not, when you're getting plus odds on a lot of the horses that I'm putting on my top pick selections. So those full card selections, I'm generally doing two tracks per week, Friday through Sunday. It's always going to include Southern California racing. Born and raised in San Diego, so it's kind of where I've always cut my teeth. I used to own horses on the Southern California circuit, so I feel like I've got a little bit of a pulse on the jockeys and the trainers. And then it's always going to include, another track across the country that has big stakes type races. So I'm going to pivot with Churchill Downs next week. They've got the Claiming Cup races coming up, big stakes weekend. I'm also going to have Keeneland, which has Breeders' Cup winning your in races. And then it's also going to include Breeders' Cup on both days. So get my college football picks. I started off the season 5-0, up 15 units. So get that. Let's keep up the momentum. And then you get my horse racing picks for free.
I love that. There's a lot of new members in the comment section. Shout out to you guys for hanging out here at Wager Talk. This is last call. If you are new here, where we take you guys up until kickoff, Saturdays, Sundays, and now Thursdays, if there is a Friday slate of games, and of course Mondays. So it is going to be action-packed football season here over at WagerTalk.com. Sean, one of the games on your list I think is really interesting that was not on my radar is Houston Rice. Now, I know you guys might not want me to talk about Houston at Rice because there's maybe more attractive games on the board, and we'll get to those here in a minute. But I want to know your method to your madness here. Kelly, you brushed your hair today. And actually, in fact, I did not brush my hair today. That's why it looks like this. Look, I swear, these are the kind of comments I get. I love it. I love it. I did do my makeup. You guys are welcome. I am at my dad's house. We had too much fun last night doing a little bit of gambling, and then we got some yard work to do before college football kicks off. Joke's on you guys. I'm not doing it. Sean Alvarez, break down Houston at Rice for me, because this is a game that, Rice just won outright in an interesting scenario. And here's a Houston team in the Big 12 that has just not fared well. They're kind of going through these growing pains, moving to a bigger conference. Talk to me about this one and why it's on your radar.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely more attractive games on the full slate of college football that we have today. But like Gianni said in the previous segment, money spends the same way as far as winning bets. So I really like this Rice side at plus 14. We look at the total. The total is only 39.5. Yet Rice is getting 2 touchdowns on the line. And like you mentioned, just coming off beating Louisiana Lafayette 14-12 as a 10-point underdog last week. And this is a Rice team that is implementing a new offense this year, running the triple option. And with the triple option, there's a couple things that really kind of stick out to me. Is first and foremost, we've seen it on more of the Army or Navy type games where the total stays low because the clock just keeps running as they keep running the football. And that's what Lafayette. That's what Rice is going to do. They ran for 206 yards on the ground last week. Chase Jenkins only threw the ball 9 times for 45 yards. And one of those was about a 20-yard chunk play where it seemed like he just threw it up in the air and the receiver just, happened to come down underneath it. So this is a Rice football team that is really not going to throw the ball. Even when they're behind the sticks, they're running the triple option. And that's not only a physically taxing offense to cover, it's also a mentally taxing offense to try and defend for Houston. So I really like the plus 14. And then the other thing about that is, if you look at the possession last week, Rice had the ball for 36.5 minutes. I think that's going to be very similar to what we see this week. And the Houston offense isn't the type of offense that, is going to chuck the ball all over the place. They're going to run the football as well. So like I had mentioned early, we see a very low total, yet we see Rice getting 14 points. So I'm going to take the points with Rice in this matchup.
All right, let's see. Steve Merrill's there waiting in the wings. We'll get to him here in a few minutes. He just popped on. If you guys have a question for Sean, drop it in the chat, and we'll get you guys some questions answered here. Sean, look, bottom line, this game's kicking off here soon. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you. I know it's on your premium card, and, we kind of break the rules here on Last Call because it is what it is. I asked VR about this. I am on UConn plus 6.5. I did my job. I saw 5.5 on the odds logic screen. And then I woke up this morning and there was a 7. And then there was a 7.5 at Hard Rock. And I was panicked before we logged on. I was asking Louis, I said, Louis, can you look? Can you ask around? Is there an injury? What did I miss? Talk to me about this line move and talk to me about who you like in the UConn Syracuse side. Again, I know it's a premium selection, but we're going to break the rules.
Yeah, so I was actually really impressed with the way Steve Angeli, the quarterback for Syracuse, played last week against Tennessee. The Tennessee defense is much more stout and has a lot more talent than this UConn defense is going to, put in front of Steve Angeli this week. So I kind of like that. I didn't like the way that UConn defended the run last week. They gave up 128 yards on the ground to a Central Connecticut team, and Syracuse can absolutely pound the ball on offense with a better offensive line. And again, they're going to face off against a much less talented team in UConn. So I'm not as impressed with the way that UConn played last week. I like that Steve Angeli kind of, jumped up being, transferred from Notre Dame last in the summer from last season. And we saw him throw the ball 40 times against Tennessee, but they were down in the game. They were trying to get back in the game, edge their way in. So I think that Syracuse is going to do a lot better job on the ground after averaging just 2.3 yards per carry, again, against the stout Tennessee team. I think Syracuse focuses on running the ball a little bit more, hopefully not playing from behind as much. I laid the 7 earlier in the week. I would have liked the 6.5, but unfortunately it moved after I put it out. But I expect a big game from Steve Angeli, and I think that we're going to see a little bit of a regression from UConn playing a more talented team than Central Connecticut last week.
All right, me and Sean head to head, going right here at noon Eastern, right out of the gate. Okay, let's see if there's any more questions in the chat. Sean also does some baseball handicapping. I know you guys were asking some baseball questions earlier. Sean, do you have anything up today at Wager Talk for baseball?
I don't yet. Was doing a lot of prep work for this show, so I didn't. But it will be the next thing I do as soon as we get off, diving into that slate and getting something up. But I definitely will.
Rob says he's hungover and needs to cash some tickets to help his headache. Good luck, Rob. Hopefully we start getting some of those tickets cashed. All right, here's a game that I'm on, Sean. I am on the Kentucky Wildcats. Another weird line move, right? So it went all the way down. We saw some 7.5s popping up. Now it's back up to 9.5. So we're seeing some two-way action as VR likes to talk. I like Kentucky here at home. I made a pretty compelling case on Wager Talk today to say, hey, listen, I don't trust Lane Kiffin early in the season. 1-4 straight up, 0-5 against the spread in his SEC openers. Yes, everybody's going to make a big deal that Kentucky won the game last year in Oxford and revenge is on their minds. But we all know as handicappers, those things are not quantifiable. So, Sean, I want to get your opinion here. One of my good friends, I tweeted this morning, Todd Furman, he said, who is the dog of 7 points or more that wins outright today? And I said, Kentucky. And I'm getting a lot of hate on social media.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like this is a game that we're going to go head-to-head on as well. I really liked what Austin Simmons did, the quarterback at Ole Miss. Again, he can sling the ball all over the field, but he's also a dual threat with his legs. And, like I mentioned earlier, I always like when quarterbacks have a little bit of a dual threat, but they're not necessarily going to get, QB runs. But, we look at the way that defenses play, especially in college. You see a lot of man-to-man, especially late in the chains on long third downs. If they turn their back to Austin Simmons, he's going to take off and pick up 20 to 30 yards before they ever turn around. So I really like what he's doing. I like the offense at Ole Miss. What I'm not sold about is the seventh-year quarterback, Zach Calzada at Kentucky. He played a weak Toledo team last week and was only able to manage 10 for 23, 87 yards, 3.7 yards on average. I'm just not sold on Zach Calzada. I think he sees a tougher Ole Miss team, and I think it could be a long day for him and the Kentucky Wildcats. I definitely am against you on them winning outright, and I would lay, last time I saw it, it was a -10, I believe, on Ole Miss. I would lay that as well. It didn't make my card, but if I'm betting that game, I'm sticking to the Ole Miss side. So unfortunately, we're going head-to-head on at least two games right now.
All right, guys, that's not a good way to start Sean's debut here on Last Call. Put that back in there, Louie. I wanted to do the promo for Sean one more time before I kicked him out of here. College football and horse racing, $4.99 right now, wagertalk.com. Sean, wt.buzz/SA is your short link, so you guys can see him over there. Sean's going to hang out. He'll answer some of your guys' questions here on the YouTube channel and or Kick and or Twitch and or X. We're broadcasting all over the place. We've got almost 4,000 people watching live. So thank you, Sean, for coming on today. And if you guys missed his episode of The Blitz, you guys can check that out there on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. And we've got about, we're going to call it 20 minutes until kickoff, a little bit longer than that, but we're not going to go quite up until, because I got a couple more bets I want to put in. I want to put in some of those plays from Art DiCesare as well as VR that they agreed on. But we're going to bring in Steve Merrill. He's going to take us home here. Hey, Steve, good morning. Appreciate you just jumping in saying, hey, if you need a third person for Last Call without Art, I will do it. So I'm going to go into this question first, only because it's kicking off here soon. And you live in Virginia. So talk to me about UVA, NC State. Chris Thurston texted me this morning. He was happy. He got NC State -2.5. Art DiCesare told us that was a sharp side. Talk to me about this football game. I know it's not super riveting, guys, but we can only talk about Michigan, Oklahoma so many damn times.
That's right. And by the way, thank you for the shirt, Kelly Stewart. See, look,
looks great.
Steve Merrill is covering the W. We put the swoosh on the wrong side.
I didn't put the swoosh. Nike put the swoosh on the wrong side.
Look at that. I think we're representing Nike more than Wager Talk here, but it's a nice shirt nonetheless. So I'm okay with it. We got it on the sleeve.
Yes.
I was trying to figure out how to use this when I was doing the
if it's flex, you're not going to flex. Just show us.
Yeah, it used to be Flex Tuesday with Sherapan and the Prez, and that got canceled. What a surprise! Hey, speaking of which, the Prez will be flexing all Sunday tomorrow. He did ask me to do the debut. I'm not going to be in the office during the afternoon. That's not why I'm not doing the first ever live Red Zone End Zone knockoff, whatever we're calling it. But it's probably for the best. They could get a little out of hand tomorrow.
It's going to be called End Zone Live. Look, here's what happened. So we get Prez is off WagerTalk today. Prez is doing all the Prez things as one of the owners of WagerTalk, and he goes skiing too much, and he's playing poker too much. He's got kids, and he's got all of these other things. And I said, Prez, you have paid your dues. You've done WagerTalk today for so long, you and Teddy. Why don't we find out something else for football season? So he's actually doing the best betting show ever with Joe Ranieri and Art DiCesare out Mondays or Tuesdays, because again, it's the Prez, so it's a little flexible. They're on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, and they go through their entire college football and NFL slate. And then we said on Sundays, I think this will be great for you. This is Johnny Detroit's idea. We're just going to tell them to turn on the camera, and then they watch the football games. It's what the kids are all doing. And Prez is really entertaining and frankly kind of crazy. So I think we're going to get some really great reactions out of there, Steve. And I did promise that I would join from time to time, particularly if I'll pop on if I'm sweating a Survivor pick or something late on Sundays. That's the beauty of the show. We're going to let people pop in and off depending on when they're available, right? It's a 3-hour show for the first slate of games from 1 to 4 Eastern. So you're going to see all sorts of people on that one, but good plug by Steve Merrill.
Yeah, you hedged it. You hedged the craziness a little bit because Andy Lang is in the co-pilot seat. So that's your hedge. I know you like to hedge.
It's called balance. Look it up.
You can call it balance.
All right, guys, if you have a question for Steve. Okay, Thomas Lynch, Baylor, SMU kicking off here in 18 minutes or so, Steve. Look, I had a bunch of buddies. They liked Baylor last week. We ended up putting Baylor in a couple of our Westgate college football contests. And I said, the whole world loves Baylor and this line's not moving. I didn't think it was going to be that bad, but that was not a good result. Auburn dominated both sides of the ball pretty much for 4 quarters there. Now here's an SMU team that I think has been really impressive over the past few seasons with Rhett Lashley. And I think he's done a really good job there in, I guess it's Dallas-Fort Worth area. But here's my question. Is this a good buy low spot on the Baylor Bears for today? Or have we just gotten to the point where there's just a lot of hype focus on this team? I know a lot of people bet they're over to 7.5 wins, and a lot of people thought Phil Steele even thought they could win the Big 12.
So it's interesting. You asked me about 2 noon kickoffs here, and they're both -3. NC State over Virginia and SMU over Baylor, both are 3-point favorites. We know that's such a key number. And I run 10,000 game simulation for every FBS game on the board each week. And guess what? My simulation in both games had the favorite winning by exactly 5.7 points, 5.7 exact. So I do think there's some line value with both Virginia and with SMU in these early kickoffs. Both NC State and Virginia, easy wins last week. I usually like the momentum to remain for the home team in that situation. And then in this case, the Baylor-SMU game, we've got obviously SMU as a slight favorite coming off the dominant win against East Texas A&M. Not Texas A&M, East Texas A&M, while Baylor lost to Auburn. I liked Baylor last Friday night. That was really the only best bet I got wrong in week 1. I had a lot of close losses, half-point losses, big favorites that gave up 0 and 6 points but didn't cover. But the one I got wrong, I felt, was Baylor. And that's always a red flag for me when a team underperforms what I thought was in a good spot. So I think there could be a little bit of a regression by Baylor this week as well. I like SMU at -3 or less. Also like NC State -3 or less. Those both go in about 20 minutes.
All right, Steve. We've got about 17 minutes till kickoff. One of the things I didn't have loaded because I wasn't planning on you coming to the show was any special that you had going on. Right now over on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, you can check out your Fade the Public video. What else do you have going on over there?
Yeah, I did the Fade the Public video late last night on Friday. So Chris Allen's going to get it posted this afternoon. We'll probably get it up each Saturday afternoon. The college football top 25 video goes up either Thursday night, Friday afternoons each week as well. And last week we had 3 head-to-head top 10 matchups, 3 of them. This week there's only 1 top 25 matchup on the whole card, Michigan, Oklahoma. So it's basically a solo video. I threw in that Duke-Illinois game, which starts early here in a few minutes, is a little bit of a top 40 bonus. But the Fade the Public, Kelly, is a big one. 5 sides and then opponent's dog lean. So 6 plays in that Fade the Public video. It'll be up this afternoon. When you click the bell, when you subscribe here to WagerTalk TV, you get an instant alert and you never miss out on the free play videos. And if you want to touch on some of those real quick, or if you want to touch on the survivors, I will say this, a little teaser alert. The most public play this week is perhaps the most likely survivor pick as well, for what it's worth.
Oh, I know. And guess who has every single one of the plays as Denver Broncos? I did 2 Philly the other night, and I just
There we go.
unloaded on the Denver Broncos. And if a rookie quarterback is going to beat me in week 1 on the road, Steve
In
Merrill,
altitude.
so be it. So be it, Steve Merrill. What do you want from me at this point?
Yeah, and Kelly, I think you mentioned this stat because I'd seen it too. Bo Nix was 8-0 last year as a favorite, right? Straight up
Yes.
and against the spread, and all 8 of those wins were by double digits last year. So, it does seem too obvious, but that was actually one of the few games in which I did not disagree with the public this week. We don't just blindly fade the public. We use it as a filter. I want nothing to do with Tennessee. Rookie quarterback, Cam Ward, probably not even the best player in the draft, but he was the best quarterback, so he goes number 1 overall. Very difficult spot. Our friend Mark Lawrence does a great job. I was looking through the annual this summer. Tennessee had a very interesting stat last year. They were one of the bottom 3 scoring defenses, most points allowed, but they were one of the top 3 in fewest yards allowed. And that hadn't happened since like 1960 or something. So, maybe there's some upside with that defense this year, but I think, as you said, it's a very difficult spot on the road in week 1 for a young quarterback. Here's the thing. You don't play Tennessee in the Survivor. What I recommend doing is just staying away from these top 1 or 2 games. Hope you catch lightning and that maybe one of them gets knocked off. We had a chance with that with Dallas. I liked Dallas on Thursday night, and Philly at -8 obviously was a big survivor. And had that happened, you could have loaded up with more picks for survivors because about 20-30% would have been out of the contest, right?
I had Dallas plus 8.5 in pocket. I said, if Philly loses this game, I got a nice, sizable middle here. I also teased the crap out of Philly. Of course I did. Even after Teddy told me not to, I did. And I said, here's the real reality with this game. If they lose, I will just rebuy. Those were cheap survivor entries. The Westgate at 5K is not a cheap survivor entry. It's not in Vegas right now to be able to have the opportunity to rebuy. There was, I believe, 28 people that used the Eagles in that contest. Just a little over 100 people signed up for the Westgate survivor.
Wow, that's what I was good at. So 28% would have been out, and most of them would have had trouble re-upping as well. At least half of them probably aren't in Vegas.
Listen, there are very few people who are going to re-up for $5,000 after just getting punched in the mouth like that opening night.
Yeah, but that's what you want, though. You didn't get hurt by it, but it would have been a huge boost, right? You would have had a 28% advantage, boom, instantly doing nothing. And Dallas, boy, was that, by the way, Kelly, the best in-game betting opportunity we've ever seen in our lifetime. We can maybe take advantage of it again, would have been the in-game under after that lightning break, the 45-minute break. Now, I will say it worked because it was so high scoring. All they focused on was defense. Had it been a lower scoring game, maybe it's different. But if we ever get an opportunity in college or pro football again where we have a shootout and we get a 1-hour delay like that, slam the under. It makes so much sense. The adjustments were made, and it was night and day. 9 touchdowns and field goals and a fumble, and then 5 punts after the break. I mean, it couldn't be any more extreme than that.
It was absolutely extreme. Hey, you know what else is extreme? We have over 4,000 people watching live right now.
Damn, that's extreme.
I love it. I'm so excited.
Your favorite 80s rock group, Extreme.
We are so close to 216,000 subscribers here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Please give us the thumbs up. Hit that bell like Steve Merrill likes to say so you never miss anything else. Steve Merrill, I'm going to give you the floor. You got 90 seconds. Anything else you'd like to talk about here on the show before we get out of here?
I'm going to do the old, Flavor Flav, Chuck D, where it's like love, pain. We're going to do smash, bell. How much was WagerTalk pay me to tattoo my knuckles? It would take a lot. I'm not a knuckle tattoo fan, but smash the bell. We don't just hit the bell, we smash it. But yeah, seriously, the Fade the Public video will be up soon. I got a lot of free play videos. I did that Kentucky Ole Miss game. I won't tell you if I agreed or disagree with you. I agreed with one of you. You and Sean were on opposite sides. I agreed with one of you in that one. But some line move on that around that key number of 10. Check out the Ole Miss Kentucky video. Also, your late night special, Sam Houston, Hawaii, the 11:59 Eastern. Don't dare say Sunday morning college football. That game is up here as well. Also got some baseball up there today. It's a huge card. 5 college football best bets, 2 baseball best bets, and of course, we will have some NFL. I'll give you a free baseball play on the way out. I just posted this a minute or two ago. Brewers minus $1.35 over the Pirates. Woodruff over Keller. I think we get the much better team, the better pitcher at a fairly cheap price here. Take a look at the Brewers minus 135 so we can say we covered some baseball today as well.
There you go, baseball nerds. You guys got it just from Steve Merrill. VR gave you guys some baseball. Sean told you to head back over to WagerTalk. He would post a free play on the diamond for you. I know. Money all spends the same, but I'd rather bet Russian table tennis than baseball. It is so frustrating. That being said, thank you to Steve Merrill. Thank you to Sean Alvarez. Thank you to VR for everybody hanging out here. And thank you to our hungover producer, Louie, who is going to just kill me. It's week 2, and he's already ready to kill me this Saturday morning. He'll be back tomorrow. Ariel Epstein here talking NFL. And, of course, Monday before kickoff, Joe Madden's going to take you guys up until then. We got a nice Vikings-Bears game. Speaking of fade the public, this one's going to be real fun. Let's see if we can fade some narrative. Steve Merrill at Steve Merrill, 2 R's, 1 L. Steve is the best. Thank you for coming in super last minute. Thank you to all of you guys there at home. Good luck this week, and let's cash some tickets.